Hello, hello. All right, sweet, it's working. Um, I wonder if the desktop, this UI doesn't look any different, so I don't know I don't see any reason why the desktop would be fixed. Uh, kind of poke around and see. Let's check out my last stream, YouTube stream, pop out the chat. Oh, interesting. There's a complaint that this is not streaming the rate of 4,500, but it is at 4,500. Garvash was saying hello, hello. Yesterday, not yesterday, last week. Um, right. What shall I do? So had been working on the tool set for preparation of Ludum Dare. You can see me setting up Unity precisely for that purpose. Uh, I made some progress. So I have this. This is a test. It allows me to create cross fingers. It works. Oh, hey, it did. Puts me in settings. I'm gonna put this under settings of Mia Games. And we're gonna call it, yeah, time settings. Plop it in there. Um, and it should, hypothetically speaking, switch to it worked, which is good because that means that it created an actual settings file right here, test settings. So I've created this project settings doc basis, so I can actually like adjust it as I go along. Um, but one thing I wanted to do very, very quickly, I don't think this will take me very long to work on, is so that when I delete it, and yeah, let's delete it, the project settings switches back to its create thing, because right now it doesn't do that. I think it is possible to fix that. I'll have to take a look. So that's probably the one thing I want to try fixing first. The second thing is I'm going to try researching how to get that testing data um, on runtime, because that's the one thing that I'm struggling with. I don't have the information to be able to pull that off. Uh, but yeah, I wanted to find a way to grab the why is this? Okay, I wanted to some way to grab like these project settings data files uh, while I start the game and do whatever with the Unity. So trying to figure out how to do that specifically has been a bit of a struggle. Um, what I could potentially do is have it check the preloaded assets. That's what one of my scripts are doing. It's trying to plop the settings file into the preloaded assets folder and see if I can grab it from there. So that's one potential idea I have. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna find out to figure out how to do that today. Um, it, Hopefully by doing so, that will really accelerate my process for splitting out a couple of these tools that I've created. So I have like this time settings tool and this web security tool. I want to make sure that those like doesn't require this really awkward way of grabbing references. So um, I guess I'll go into more detail if I ever get a chance sometime uh, within this month. But anyways, right. So one thing I wanted to quickly do You can see I did a little bit of work to start this. It should be possible to, yeah, there's a scriptable object, and I think scriptable object does support um, the on, that's not the right names. It does support on destroy function. And more importantly, I need to actually be able to listen to that event. Called before this object is destroyed. Honestly, this should be protected. I don't want any scripts to call this method. So it'll probably make sense to plot this towards the end, if anything. But it is a Unity event, so actually, yeah. Is there already documentation on this? What happens if I switch it out to this instead? No, nothing. Anyways, public system.action. I'm gonna say base settings data on destroy, which is not good. Yeah, this is bad. That's I think I think Unity is not gonna like that. Let's find out. No, it seems to be okay with it. That's interesting. I thought it would have some problems with that, but okay. Called when this data is being destroyed. Oh, it does not like that. Okay. I can't say I'm too surprised. I'm debating on whether I want to continue with this or not. Yeah, no, it's fine. I'll just stick with this. I just need to rename this. Since technically the object hasn't destroyed yet at this point. Boop. Invoke. This. And that'll be good. I am debating on how much I want to do that. How much code is going to die if I do this? Settings builder. confusing as that's going to be. No. So, right, then under the base settings editor, the one thing we want to do is while it's setting this, value double equals null. Before we remove the config object, we want to grab it, unsubscribe from destroy event. Actually, we want to do this prior to, yeah, we want to do this prior to changing the value. Grab the old settings. Settings dot on before destroy. Then I'm going to call it void on data destroy. And I think it's T data actually. Data. Want to make sure that we unlisten to that. Otherwise, value on before destroy, on data destroy. Then update the UI. Set the variable. On data destroy, basically we want to say active settings to null. If it will default to null. So that, in theory, yeah, that should, in theory, be all that needs to be done. So let's see if it works. Up, 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 up. All right, settings. I don't know. Here, save it. Unity froze. Oh, Unity froze. Uh, oh, it's back online. Why would Unity freeze? Was it because it's compiling? Because that would be really disappointing if it was. Okay, let's try following this process. So, where is it? Create new settings. This is where this problem would occur. I call this, I say create asset, and then return settings here. So I go to here. It checks to see if there was a setting prior. Shouldn't be, so there's none of this happening. Then goes to editor, add config name, and value. Oh, okay, no, that's fine. That would explain some of the weird shenanigans I've been seeing. That's the value, then sets it to true. Then updates content, just checks to see whether the body content is there or not, checks to see what the active settings currently is set to, plops everything. All right, cool. So it sounds to me like it should work. So we have this, and the moment of truth is what happens when I hit delete. Nothing? Nothing? Oh, oh no, I need to do this all over again. Okay, sure. It looks like nothing. So was I wrong this entire time? And does it actually not play this? I would not be surprised if that's the case. Um, if that's the case, then, I could just revert a bunch of these files. So be it. Yeah, it doesn't actually display anything on the console. Is there a way to bind to an event? This makes me ask, Unity scriptable object on destroy. Yep. Awake, on enable, on disable, on destroy, and it just debug log on destroy. But we just seen that that doesn't work. Event on when destroyed in project. I'm just assuming it never calls that, which it wouldn't surprise me if that's the case. Well, if that is the case, I could just go ahead and start reverting some of these codes since I don't really want that extra complexity added in. Time manager, where am I? I am here. Want to go to packages. Then this one is in the global settings file. Bunch of things to potentially add here. I think git restore runtime base settings data.cs. Cool. I think I want the manager state. No, the manager probably. So the one that I know, one of these editors I want to actually add. Git add editor, I believe it's base settings editor.cs. What did I have to change for the builder? I don't think I care too much about builder's changes. I do care about the changes I made here, yeah. So, T data is that. It does not need this. On data destroy, there are two references to it. We don't need either of those references. Then here it says grab on destroy, value on destroy. We're listening to it. It didn't work. Here, and get rid of that. Save. Restore the runtime. Base settings manager. Tests runtime. Testing settings data. Let's say editor base settings builder.cs. See how Unity reacts to all that. Cool. So more or less done with that then. Didn't really need to cover that too much. Adding UI polish to base settings editor. Just to kind of, I guess, confirm, since most of this work I was working on was kind of off screen, I was figuring out a way to kind of make it react to the change in the active state property UI more quickly. So it did a bit of a refactor to pull that off. Since this is calling that, that will call this, and it'll work, hopefully. Then I could like simplify this a little bit. Body content is being set here. Then whatever happens here is essentially this. Be good. Oh. Cool. Well, that's a thing. Right. So my big question is Unity, how to get reference to preloaded asset. Player settings, preloaded assets. Asset references. I'm pretty darn sure player settings is an editor only. Editor namespace. thing. So that's not a runtime code, in other words. Um, the next best idea I had was to basically copy the localization file as much as possible and use its assets data or addressables method of grabbing info. So as of right now, I don't believe there is any way to directly get those assets at runtime. And that is because I assume player settings is a Unity editor. Wait a minute. Oh, if in Unity editor, editor utilities, player settings that get preloads assets to list. Which, player settings is, yeah, under the Unity editor. So there's no way to grab that from runtime. Interesting. Okay. Well then, that certainly puts a damper in my original plan. But I could try to cheat a little bit, see what I can pull out from this localization project. Um, localized references, localized assets. So is this what I think it is? No, it is not what I thought it was. Oh, localized assets. So it does say at the bottom, which is a localized asset base. Um, there's a lot going on here. Um, localized asset base, which is a localized reference. Oh my goodness, why? Which is an abstract. Gosh, why? Why? All right. Let me try that again. Localized reference is an iserialization callback receiver and is a serializable. That's just it. Okay. I think that does make sense. So that's not too important right now. For me, what's more important is like, say, there is a way in Unity's localized asset stuff that it is capable of grabbing from like an addressable interface. Kernel class allows for intercepting calls to the addressable. Um, grabs an addressable interface, resource manager, addressables.resource manager. That's a interesting shortcut. And these are all shortcuts. These are all literally just shortcuts. Okay. Um, Addressable entry not found exception. Uh, maybe there's a way to grab this from open containing folder. Okay, good. This sort of helps. Runtime. Here, there's just JSON file and it doesn't really help. What I can do is I can make a new window. I can have you open folder. Now, can I copy and paste this, please? It's in Git library package cache. Okay. No, why do you do this to me? It was package cache, which I don't see here, under library. And under localization. Ooh, addressables, features, localization. Yeah, open that. Changing the workspace is longer than expected. Sure. Localization references. These are all runtime, which doesn't help me too much in this case. Addressables not found. UI. Um, addressables. Addressable. Target as addressables. Resolver property drawer. This is a property dropper for group rule resolver. Shared group name, shared group, local group name. I don't know what this is drawing for. I haven't really looked into localization too much, so admittedly that's part of the problem. I guess what I'm looking for is what happens when you create a localization um, asset. So in this case, just checking to see the editor instance, table collection cache, and querying that. Word assets path, failed to load the local assets. Load asset at path, assets path. Failed to locate local assets, right? Add locale. doesn't attempt to convert this other than L. So anyways, I'm looking for creating a new cal. This is just going to be really interesting as I do all the research that I can and not figure out a single thing on what the heck is going on. Plugins, property variable, game object localizer, reporting, search, settings. Bunch of editor preps. So this group resolver is interesting because I can tell this is, well, this isn't supposed to be the addressables. Addressable asset group, shared group. Local group name pattern, mark entries, read only. Resolver as a name. Add locale group. Group is already assigned. Move locale group. What does add do? Find pair. Shared group, get group, add to group. How many groups? Find asset entry. It's trying to grab it from the AA settings. Where does it get the AA settings? That's from the addressable asset settings. There's an addressable asset settings. Oh, table analyze rule. Group store string locale analyze rule. As this addressable asset settings. Where is addressable asset setting? That part of runtime. Addressable interface. Assembly info. Uh, get addressable asset settings. Load asset from name internal. What if I just search for create addressable? Going to be a very long list I can see. Don't care too much about these. Localization samples, engine, addressable assets. These markdown files. SVGs. Addressable group, analyze rule, table, group resolver, string table, asset table collection, localization, editor setting. Localization table settings, addressable group rules editor. Wasn't I just looking at this earlier? Yeah. Group resolver property drawer table. Maybe I could just Google it. Let's try that. Unity editor, add asset to addressable. Getting started with addressable assets as addressables through script. There are a couple of different ways. Simple role-based addressable asset importer. The importer marks assets as addressables by applying the file having a path matching rule. Little big fun. How to use a bunch of contributors. Alternatively, there's these couple of other ideas. Create asset entry. String group name label. So there's a group settings. Addressables settings. Find group. Create group. Then group list. This doesn't really. No licenses here. I guess proceed with caution. Creates an asset, then adds a label. Okay, so probably we need something that like does basically this and this. Well, I'm thinking. Um, can probably close this at this point. Let's see, maybe some addressable properties or whatever. Uh, yeah, maybe make it like let's start with something like that. I think there's just going to be a lot of these. Kind of wish there's a way for them to make this a little easier. So I'll worry about it later. Anyways, so once a new active setting is created, we can say add settings to addressables. Essentially just kind of copy and paste this. Let's confirm if this works as intended. So of course, make sure that this imports any addressable stuff, like so. Going to explain about a bunch of things because the test editor doesn't extend and set the properties, so I need to make sure that those are actually set. Should be fairly simple to do. It's these two. And for the group name, I'm gonna go with good old Omiya Games. As for the address label, I'll just call it test settings. Kinda had prefer no spaces in both, if I'm to be completely honest. Config name, I set it to this and I don't like this. I kind of want that to be for now, so I'm gonna add in an extra test in there. Okay, it seems to take that fine. Then there's a source path, get asset path to GUID, group exists, create or move entry, source. So what does this actually end up creating? I'd like to know. I'm going to forget. Oh, got it. So in here, there should be something like an asset manager, addressables. Okay, so good. I have something to kind of keep reference of for this. There's one for localization locales, one for group data, built-in data. Okay. Labels are currently set to locale, but the paths are not set. The paths are less important. Labels is interesting. I don't know what the labels do yet. Okay. Let's not explore too much of the labels then. I'll keep that in for now. Don't like all these bars. I guess I'll figure out how to take care of this, but anyways, you know which path it's created in. Um, we do want to create a group, so basically check to see if the group exists. Find group. So get group, I assume, just does find group. Yep, it does a find group. Our addressable group. Then it tries to find, in our case, this, the addressable group name. Check to see if group even exists. If it's null, then it doesn't exist. We need to create a new group. We already have that settings. Just need to go through that. And apparently all this. Our group. All group settings, I think that works. So that creates, that returns a group, which is this. Then create asset entry. There's whole this shenanigans, I guess. The entry creates a new addressable settings. Create a move entry source good. Is good. Group, which it's working on right now. The source good stuff I can probably further down. Because I don't think that good is necessary elsewhere. Group entry address is set to source path. Source path is none of that. That should be the file path itself. See what happens, if at all. Bunch of errors. Group name does not exist. Is this true? Group name does not exist. Name group does not exist. Interesting. Groups can have spaces. This is the way they developed it. So, okay, what happens now if I create this, settings, games? Does it actually do what I think it does? No, it does not. It gives me a null pointer exception. Under create new settings, 185 here, because addressable groups is null. Solved. Okay, this is what I wanted to know. Okay. That kind of hurts. Okay, GUID is just a string. And this created a new group. And yeah, this is it. Hooray. Um, it's interesting. Okay, that's interesting. It's interesting that this is, so the labels are supposed to be groups. Okay, so you can, so they're like tags, got it. Um, hmm. So these aren't read only. They allow you to set and change this, which is interesting. Wonder how to edit these things so that they don't look like that, I guess. Um, First off, let's copy over some of these things because I don't like that some of these are without types. I would personally like I'm not a huge fan of var. Addressable groups. And then that's just a string. Uh, Get or create a new asset group. Add the asset. Before I do that, this part is really interesting. The addressable settings.create. So let's see if I can get the documentation on that. Oh, interesting. You're taking a long time. Create group addressables. Okay. Addressable schemas to copy, post modification event, name, set as default group. Is the new group read-only? Post modification events. So may want to trigger. No, what? Type of schemas to add? Schemas is interesting. So how does resources do this? Nothing really? So I'm going to delete this. Yes. I like the read-only feature. That's useful. So that's the second. Don't want that to be a default group. So that's the third, right? Group name, 1, 2. Oh, post event is not that. I don't think I need post event immediately yet. Group not found. Create a new only group. Now, where else is it referenced? The field loading label. No, I don't care too much about that. All right. Let's delete this, repeat this all-encompassing problem again, see if that'll help me achieve what I want. Settings, media games, save. Here it is. Oh, and it creates it. Oh, interesting. So it creates it as a readable asset, which is really fascinating. Probably don't want that. Create or move entry. Read only false, so I just need to add in a true here. It's getting stuck for some reason. Okay, there we go. Apparently I deleted it. Whoop, 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 whoop. Yeah, save. This clearly is taking up more time than... Okay, that looks right to me. Did it save this? Oops. I saved it in the wrong folder. Builds, graphics, input, drop it in that folder instead. Um, right, this looks good to me. All that looks good to me. So now the only question I have is, now that I've added in addressables, how do I set it up such that I can actually grab a reference to this? Also, the type of this is addressable assets entry. Thank. Address, that's correct. Oh, yeah, that all looks good. Cool. Right. Addressables, get asset from group name. Probably want label actually, although I'm not exactly a huge fan. All right, I think I'm gonna take a quick break for a minute. at a point where I'm kind of happy with this. And I'll take, also need to remember to actually commit these things. Yeah, out of curiosity, is there like a progress bar window show? Because it's a little strange to me. There's a lot of process to this. Unity, uh, editor, pop-up progress bar. Oh, interesting. So there's a display progress bar, um, then clear progress bar. Display cancelable progress bar, clear progress bar, progress class. Display cancelable progress bar. Like, what would I do to cancel, merge canceling? That one's a little strange. I probably am not going to take that route. But I will probably use this real quick because I'm noticing this kind of takes a while. Info. Attempting to get an addressable. So there is how many steps in here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 steps. So this would be like 6 steps. We probably want to go by 5. So 2F, 4F, 6F, 0.8F. And 1. So this part is going to be interesting, trying to convey the 0 to, I guess I can do 0.2, so like const float progress increment. No, I think it'd just be easier if I just say float get progress in step will just be float first convert step step subtract by 1. So it's going 1 step back, then divide by 5F. Or something like that. I just like to make that all parentheses. So this way I can say get progress. This is the first step. Here's the second. Here's the third. Kind of want steps to be 0 indexed actually. Yeah, it kind of makes more sense for me to make this indexed. Step 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, five, then 6. This, not sure this is going as I planned. So what happens if I delete this from the asset? Okay, it just gets deleted. Wait, how is the asset window able to detect whether it's been deleted or not, and I can't? Okay, it just happened so fast. I guess that progress bar really also wasn't all that necessary. Um, yeah, how is the addressables groups able to check to see whether an object has been destroyed or not, scriptable object has been destroyed or not? That's really interesting to me. Um, adding new making base settings editor, add new settings assets into addressables table. All right, now I'm in the be right back mode. All right. I've returned. There is interesting. There are a new user, TM Bass, giving out a shout out. Says, "Yo, shout out to RPI Troy, New York." Um, I am not anywhere near RPI anymore, but I am certainly an RPI alum, so you got me there. Certainly been in the Troy area. Nice place. Yeah, that uh, it's been like growing in a really cool way recently. So, um, really happy to see it grow. Very sad to see COVID-19 kind of make the progress that that town has been making slow down a significant factor, but nonetheless, no, yeah, nice, great place to be in. Right. Um, Now it's time for me to learn about addressables. I really did not think this through. But right. Loading addressables. So the addressable class provides several methods for loading address assets. You can load assets one at a time or in batches. To identify the asset to load, you pass either a single key or list of keys to load a function. A key can be one of the following objects. Address, a string containing the address you assign to the asset. Label, a string containing a label assigned to one or more assets. Asset reference object, an instance of asset reference. iResource location instance, an intermediate object contains information to load an asset and its dependencies. I think containing the address you assigned to the asset is, I think this is the one I care most about. And I really only care to load one asset in this case. So load asset async up blah, correlating load assets to their keys. Um, Load an asset reference, loading a scene, loading asset by location. When you load an addressable asset by address, label, or asset reference, the addressable function first looks up the resource location for the asset, uses these iResource location instances to download the required asset bundles and then dependencies. Perform the asset load operation in two-step by first getting the asset async, then using those objects as keys to load or instantiate the assets. Contains the information needed to load. Um, this is going to give an example by loadable load resource location async. I think what I just need is like the address to be overwritten. So in this case, I just kind of went blindly with the code and made it so that the address was based off of the path given. But it may just be that I want to change this to something a little different. So, like all of these are paths with that set in mind. So let's try one small thing here. We don't need this terminal to be as large as it needs to be. So shrink that a little bit. Um, but yeah, no, my first thought process is what happens if we require this to set up. So I wrote address label, but addressable, well, it's address. It just says path there. Interesting. But it doesn't give a list of address. Addressable name. Ah, here it is. Okay. Addressable group name, addressable name. So rather than label, just call it test settings. And instead of this file path right here, we change that to that instead. Yeah, before I go too far, actually, what's this? Class addressable entries, has the GUID, read only. This is treated as a primary key in the resource manager system. That's important to me. Target asset is in folder, labels, GUID. I think that all looks good. So the address is actually the one thing that needs to change here. So it was really that simple. All right. So do the same thing here. Go to settings, games, save. Yep, now shows up as test settings. Then in theory, it's interesting the labels doesn't have anything in there. Wonder if I do want to add labels to it, because it's interesting to me that the locales do. I don't see a good reason. Yeah, I don't immediately see a good reason. Um, Loading a single asset. Right. So let's take a look at how this works. My resource T object. I guess there's not a way for me to get the load async based off of. Group is a main organization unit as an addressable system. Use addressable groups window to create. You can organize your groups or you can organize your addressables and group and assign settings to each group. Control how the assets are handled. When you perform a content build, the build script creates asset bundles containing the assets in a group. The build determines the number of bundles to create and whether to create them from both the settings of the group and overall addressable settings. See build. Managing group. Open the addressable group. Manage your addressable assets. See that. Create a group. Create a group. Blah. Manage assets in a group. Blah. Add, remove. Group window. List. Context menu. Asset. So group is just there for making it easier to find these. Oh, does it? I'll worry about that later. Window toolbar, tools, play, filter less. Weird. Okay. Does not sound like group does anything. Um, so, anyways, that kind of takes care of that issue for me. Um, Now the next thing I want to start looking into is updating the manager file. So this, um, base settings manager, uh, load T data, trying to handle loading its data on setup, data path. Data path um, does not work. I would like to rename this as addressable name. Get the it's the name of the so there's a base test manager. I see why I wrote it that way. Um, this does the data path, not correct. The addressable name is here. I want this to be synced with this. Public const string addressable settings name. So that should work. Addressable group name. Probably for the addressable group name, I'll want something else. Yeah. Um, yeah, I think this is good for now. I think I'm gonna revert this too, actually. Silly as it sounds. Nah, I kind of like that. Never mind. Keep changing my keep changing my tune. Uh, Whatever. All right. Well, let's see if this does anything. So, test until this is done. Check if the default data status Default data, status. Sure, I think that looks fine. We should be able to run this test. Test window. Test runner. Play mode. Template project. Run that. Test loading data failed. That's not, okay, that's a really bad. Using default data but was retrieved project data. That is correct. That is what I expected. Right. This is going to be interesting. How do I pull this off in such a way that this is um this is gonna be interesting. So let me try something that is a little silly here. Where we actually bother to attempt to grab and release this data. This is one instance I might actually consider var. And the one thing I'm trying to grab is this status right here. And it was complaining. This was set to retrieve project data. Addressable name here is grabbed directly from this. Grab the actual data first. That's just a normal handle. It really doesn't matter in this. Wait until it's done loading. The status of this data. Check if default data is being. The test manager is, I think, designed to not give you, yeah, it's not really designed, doesn't really matter here. It's not designed to actually like give you information about what it actually is, what it actually loaded, that is. So that is intentionally a secret, and don't want to change that specifically. Name addressables does not exist. That is fair. Type namespace addressables does not exist. That's what I expected. That's totally okay. Just need to update these. Which one I don't know. This one. Okay. I need to update this with addressables. That's interesting. There's an addressables test. Um, for what I can use out of that. It says resource management. So source manager. Maybe that's what's missing. And it's compiling. T data could not be found. That is a typo on my part. Good old copy and paste. Let's try to see if that did the job. Let's run this. Yeah, it worked. See? Ha! Ha, I say. I don't know what else worth talking about that. So, okay. Looks like that worked. So I can actually start using this for a couple of projects. The only big one that I'm concerned about is making sure that I like actually set this up correctly. One thing I did find with this, with a weird problem with this method, is that despite with the whole addressables and everything, it doesn't. It seems like I need to add like a post build step to mark the asset, the settings asset, as something to add into the project, which is really strange. Not something I completely understand, but actually I don't do that. I do want to double check to see what these changes are. Okay, so I'm changing that, adding that, bunch of stuff. Um, Updating addressable. Confirmed via test addressable that manager script is able to successfully load the settings addressables generated by project settings editor. Which is good. I don't know why these are here. I don't think they should be good. Eventually I'll need to actually cover this. This is actually a real thing to fun, but not going to touch that for now. Testing assets. I will need to start getting rid of. What am I changing here? Okay. So yeah, I was afraid of this. Technically, I do want to revert this as soon as possible. Yeah, that's a safe. Right, I do want to revert this. This should hypothetically cause that to happen. Good. Take that out. These shenanigans are pretty okay. Shenanigans I think are pretty okay too. What is it that I really want to focus on? Trying to recall. Bad job of recollecting what I was trying to focus on. Oh, right. Okay. So the test scripts, I wanted to put in a macro thing to prevent them from actually being considered for running. First off, these should be marked. Nope, they're not. Yeah, this one's marked for all platforms anyway, so that's not exactly the most thing for now. Right, this is going to be so strange and interesting. I think so long as I've deleted those files, I don't really need to concern myself yet. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna leave these as is for now. But right, so time to test this out with test time settings. Bunch of stuff I wanted to do with this time manager. So like this is time manager I want to keep. I want to split that apart for a couple of reasons. But the interface of time manager right now is pretty terrible. Like you have to have a reference to the time manager scriptable object, and so like you create a time manager instance, then copy that instance onto that script in the inspector. And it doesn't look good. My original hope was to be able to have all these functions defined in the time manager to be like, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, Scriptable. things. Like to be able to access them statically. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for, static. On a static basis. So with that in mind, like let's see how I'll do this. This is going to be both exciting and frightening all at the same time. So time manager, I do want that. Time settings, I also want that as well. And right now there's like a time manager editor and a probably time settings provider is probably the one I care about keeping around the most. I'm going to take out these tests for now. So time settings. Um, is there a way to format this? Item. Today is, oh, lots of stuff, I guess. February 11th. Initial draft. Scriptable object with settings info. Sidebar, I think that's cool. It's just a single serialized field, time settings. So this is a bit of an overkill, but whatever. It is an interface I've written. I'm going to make full use of it. There anything that is set up to actually document what the heck this is? Okay, there's nothing that documents what the heck this is. The default hit pause duration in seconds. In fact, I kind of don't like that this doesn't specify seconds. Right, so I wrote that, but global settings had a specific root node for this. Called base settings data. And it wants me to set up this. Method. Parent doc, I think that's it. Yeah, that's everything. So gets the current version. That's probably, so in a rare bout, I'm gonna plop this at the top and write a message. Don't forget to update this property each time there's an upgrade. And for the sake of completion, think for now that looks great. Now the next thing I want is for time manager show up with all these and then this is gonna be part. I'm not too sure how I want to approach this. Because time manager certainly has some things about it, but in this class as reference, so time manager is supposed to be the first class is actually time manager, and the second class is supposed to be the base data, so time settings. This should handle that. There's a protected instance, then a way to get the data itself. Okay, good. There is an on setup and there is an on destroy function. So this is actually really useful because there's a start and an update function to this. Okay, so there's a start and an update function, which is really interesting to me. That implies to me that the manager is already a mono behavior though. The manager is already a mono behavior, so that start and whatever actually works. The only thing that I want to do is make all these public functions like static. So all the public functions and properties static. So public static. Time scale has all these other things. We want to get rid of this. Turn timescale, want to grab the instance and return that. If there's any difference in timescale at all. Interesting, it doesn't, okay, so this doesn't need that anymore. I see why, what happened here. Is manually paused. Yeah, that should work. I actually don't like this too much. So I'm thinking about adjusting this to yeah, I don't like these too much if I'm to be completely honest. These instance things probably doesn't need much. Especially since it's constantly grabbing from the component singleton. I think component singleton .get. Yeah, I don't think it needs to grab it that many times. Um, Make it like Python here. Uh, void. Actually, I kind of want this static. Static void update timescale. I did that. I wonder if there's how many references are there? One for data, I see. There's one for data status. Then one where I just do check. Yeah, making this a property probably is a bad idea, I'm starting to think. Um, Make them getters to kind of make it obvious that, like, there's actually something. There's actually a lot of process going on. This one's going to be harder for me to fix, so I'm going to leave this alone. Right, get data needs change to get instance. Is manually paused. I'm slightly concerned about this. Yeah, I kind of want the start to happen before I'm actually going to take advantage of this after all. Hmm. This part, this line is interesting. I think this is from the root of me doing the pause for, and this doesn't make it good. Yeah. In fairness, this script is pretty battle tested, so I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna have to think about this one. Um, shouldn't be too hard to handle. Uh, time scale. So there's all this shebang happening here. This should happen like this. Yeah. Shoot the pause event. For it's a custom time scale. And get game settings. So this is going to be interesting. I need to kind of convert this, but I'll worry about that later. Um, right, so now these are functions. Wait, no, what am I doing? I don't need to set that. These are two static properties. Okay. Hit pause. This is going to be the interesting part. Temporarily change timescale for pause for right, change the timescale immediately. Store how long it's going to change the timescale. Update flags to revert the timescale later. Is timescale temp? I see. So the slow duration, this is all part of this whole self instance. So I see what happened here, and I'm not entirely sold on this idea. There's spam coming from YouTube. What's going on with them? Well, let's see if this compiles first. That's what matters in this case. All right, bunch of this not found. What you do? And yes, I forgot to add this assembly definition file. Kind of important. Okay, so now it's complaining that the namespaces are not in there. That is doable and dealable. Base settings data, also not found. Enumerator not found. Time manager does not abstract method addressable name, which is true. It does not. I like to put overrides after the properties are static property. Ha 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 ha. Addressable. To do, consider different alternatives than using update. I think I ended up using update specifically because I wanted to make sure that the user can pause in the middle of a hit pause, which would make a lot of sense. I'll have to think about this use of update on a later time, but yeah, not the thing I want to dedicate too much of my time to yet. An object reference is required. This is not valid in ah. An object reference is required for a method or property on manually. This is a valid point, because this is not accessible anymore. Event for when time manager is paused. How many things rely on this? Because this is poorly named. Okay. Default, good. That's exactly the message I want to appear. Where is it? It pause for default. This is when get data dot default iteration starts to matter. Time settings does not contain a definition for default. Golly. Stop it with the spam, please. Hit pause does not contain a definition for default hit pause. And that's 138. I don't understand what it's complaining about. Because that's the game's settings. Yeah. Oh. That is a fair point. It does not. It does have a property though. Alright, good. So we got all these bunch of property drawers and everything. I call that progress. Property drawer settings at time manager. Right, we don't want this to be a time manager, we want this to be time settings. gee, there's a lot going on. Let's just, okay, I do want that. Base settings here. So there's at least two different scripts from global settings, editor scripts from global settings I want to grab. That's the base settings editor. Um, all of these is good. Asset file name. Just be that. XML path is indeed that. That's actually still useful. Device time manager. Help URL, help header text. Config name. So I should actually put a summary on the um the addressable group. Can be loaded from called, why can I not remember? Um, you had one. What did I call it? Setting editor helper. addressable group name. This one also time settings. Wait a minute. I think I already had this. Yes. Config name. This one should be fairly easy. Time settings. Sure. Make it the same name as the package itself. The styles is useful. We still need that. That's necessary, but we don't need this. Do need this. Everything else we don't need. Yeah, everything else we don't need. Header text. Time settings. Help URL. I have this project somewhere. Yar. This is not the correct URL. No, I didn't change this name. Interesting. Okay, I apparently didn't change this name at all. I may want to like flop it somewhere sim I thought cat dot get modules. Time is still using time. Okay, I didn't change the project URL. Interesting. Can't say that's a bad thing actually. Don't need this. Sidebar display. Don't need it to be in project scope because that is, I believe the constructor here applies as such. Yep, it does. Set the keywords accordingly. Why does it do that? That's interesting. I thought, yeah, it's just a static. I think, technically speaking, yeah, I think it might be better if I think I'm going to change my. I am going to change my mind on this. Search. Keywords. And make this nullable. Then I'm thinking the property drawer doesn't really need to be taken out. Where is settings property drawer coming from? Oh, I see where this is coming from. It's me, Omiya, says Spider-Man, apparently. Okay. So the property drawer, like what? I don't, trying to think of what I want this. I don't think I want this. So I can probably delete that. This could be useful. I don't think it really is necessary. Um, I might actually leave this. Might leave this alone. Yeah. This one, I think I'm gonna leave. So in theory now, when I get back here, I'm going to complain about a bunch of things. Type or namespace base settings could not be found. This is correct. Ah, I think this should work. More spam from YouTube. Yeesh. This does this. Want too lazy to type this up. Using system.generic. That's cool. Then asking for an IEnumerable string keywords. I am actually defining it here. Don't bother with the rest here. think this will work for now. Yeah. Let's see. What else? Still seems base settings editor is not available, but from here, so it's complaining that it has to complain that this not part of the assembly definition file, which is plausible. It is not. Um, Time settings cannot be used as a parameter. Version from time settings to base settings data. What do you mean? There's a base settings data. Is this a case where the time settings? Must add global settings. Oh, okay. Well, that explains it. Global settings. Fine. Be that way. Help URL get, because they're not set to override. All right, good. Okay, these are solvable. Now it's trying to grab time settings from time manager as serialized fields, but I don't want that anymore. Time manager is not a scriptable object. Oh, no, it's still. On pause check. Where's this reference? Okay, that correct actually. Yeah, that's correct. Is manually paused, which is I think correct. Time managers does not contain a definition for non-manually. Also correct. Can you just give me the on after? There you go. Duck level, that's good. Oh, affected time manager, haha, I don't need that anymore. Speaking of haha, I don't need that anymore. Like, this is so much easier for me. It's just static variables. Somewhere in here was a time manager. We can get rid of that. Right. Where's the definition? Don't need this anymore. Definition here. Don't need this anymore. Oh, this is exciting. Yeah. Invalid key exception. Addressable invalid key plus 3. Because, right, and that makes sense. Because this has not been created yet. Okay, so actually, cancel that. I can finally get rid of this, which we don't need. And I can get rid of this. This is not done though. All right, this example code now needs to change, which is good. That's progress in my opinion. Don't need this anymore. And I want to edit this. Uh, would it let me edit that from here? It should. I'll be surprised if it didn't. There, good. Let's word wrap this, please. XML, we don't need the style sheet anymore, style element anymore. Don't need these anymore, I don't think. Don't need these anymore, and just focus on that. Yeah. What's this value cannot be null coming from? Well, guess I'm gonna find out. Expand that code example so it has all this. Sure, let's do that. Save. Take that out. See if it works. Yay, it worked. You can actually see it update. Nice. So now, in theory, when I run it, it shouldn't give me the addressables invalid key exception. Doesn't, which is good. Now, it's interesting that it gives an exception when it's not able to when it's not able to load the file. Well, anyways, this more or less completes this, in my opinion. Yeah, what were the changes here? I'm sort of curious. Yeah, what were these changes? Okay, so I wanted to add in there, I wanted to add in documentation. Um, change these. We ready on this, on setup, on destroy. Data status is the thing. That I deliver property for the time being because there's more. I no, I think I'm gonna go back and actually update that after all. Doesn't that doesn't feel right to me. Even if it's no, it's still static. Still static. Um, I will face this consequence. I think there is one test script that will fail because of it. It didn't even save. Well, I think this allows me to check which one test script one. That. Here it is. See what this thinks. Boy. Oh. I should have noticed that was the way this was set up. Okay, well, then I'm going to need to keep a reference of that at all times, so looks like that's just going to stay for now. All right, will it compile? Compile. Yes, it did compile. Cool. Updating data status. Updating to be more pragmatic for developers. There's still, like I said, one more file I need to create, and I think it's an editor file. Settings builder. Time builder. And that is so poorly named, but whatever. I'll work on that soon. I just want to quickly check one thing. Yeah, okay. So that is not working the way I thought it would. Yeah, that makes me cautious for all the wrong. I was like, okay. So that makes me unhappy, but that's okay. Um, I want as time settings editor. I actually want to rename both of these files. Time settings builder, which is a settings builder. Right. Using games.global.settings.editor. Base settings builder, time settings. What are the changes we want? Time settings builder does not implement config name doc yet. Sure, so what does this need? Config name, and that's it. Right. So the config name, base settings. Was that, where's the config name set up? In the provider, right? Oh, there it is. Okay, found it. Want that. Um, time settings builder has a config name. This has a config name. I feel like config name is more like an editor specific thing. But then again, this is also, like, this doesn't really belong here. Yeah, like this doesn't really belong here, so um, I am going to take that back. It's going to be easier for me to do this anyways. Move this. Here. Let's see if that works. Okay, I think that was a weird thing to swap out. Then probably want something similar. Pre and post build script to add time settings to the build. This is, it's the 7th. '22. This has been updated since 2020. This has also been updated too. The name config name does not exist. Correct. I don't know how that got deleted. Okay, good. This is time. Good. push that while building. It's not building it anymore. Yeah, this should just work. So the build settings, basically it's just a post and a pre and post build script that it's under addressable, like the addressable groups here, are all just, this is just a UI. And like the references information here doesn't actually get transferred over to the build whatsoever, as I understand it. So you need to actually copy that asset into the build by telling Unity that they should actually create it. Um, oh yeah, this looks good. This doesn't look good. Why does this let you change the addressable? Um, that frustrates me. Anyways, that implies that you can do that for localization actually. Can I do that for localization? And if so, why? Oh, I can. That doesn't make me feel good. Fine, I'm just gonna have to trust in the programmer not utilizing that. Not gonna worry about this. Um, Utilizing the global settings package standard instead of globals. This makes time manager script accessible from static base. Um, Now I do want to check to make sure that these assets settings, yeah, these look right. Uh, uh, Updating project to um, new time manager script standards. And then I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to work on this much later, but I'm going to actually start working on bundling this as a release. Right, it is already 11. I think now would be a good time to put a pause to this. So Yar will certainly be working on getting back to uh, doing some other stuff. This one, so I probably there's already like a number of things in here that I want to like start setting up and utilizing. Um, but yeah, this looks good to me mostly. Um, the only thing that I'm a little cautious about right now is that the time manager using addressables and everything, like the addressables needs to load and all that. So if there's a way for me to guarantee that the manager is being loaded before the game starts, like the start menu begins or something like that, that would be good. Trying to think of a good way to like establish that so that you're not like, I'll have to think about that. But so far this looks good to me. I guess I'll figure out how to add in that loading scheme stuff later. But yeah, this looks good. This gives way to a lot of things that I was having a lot of difficulties with. Um, the save stuff, for example, can finally be updated. to not require using the singleton script. It's basically I'm trying to figure out a way to not have to use the singleton script all the time, and this like drastically helps. So looking forward to getting rid of that soon. Anyways, I'm done. Gotta go to sleep. See you all. Bye.